Will Striper get it going today?
Striper today. Well, welcome to Sports and Songs, everybody. This is episode number 42. Today is Saturday, October 3rd. I'm your co-host, Dan, joined here with Andy. Andy, how you doing?
I'm good. How about you?
Good. We got lots to talk about today. We got sports. We've got updates. We've got high school sports. We've got college. And then we got music, concerts, updates. And, of course, the album review of the week.
All right. Start off with a little NASCAR news. Get our NASCAR fix going right off the bat. NASCAR said starting next year with their races, they're going to add a dirt track race to the schedule at Bristol. Now, a lot of these guys in NASCAR start out at dirt tracks, which is a little more than what you have at Elko. But it's kind of a dirt track. It is what it is. Some are happy, some are sad about it. My opinion on it, it's kind of like the NHL has their outdoor game on the first of the year.
Yes.
Stuff like that. It still counts as a regular game. How many of these NHL guys learned outside on the ponds?
Correct.
So it's kind of that same thing. Something different for the drivers, something different for the fans. I think it's going to be exciting. NASCAR is going to be doing something right because it ain't free to load a bunch of dirt into a track just for one race. So financially, they're going to be okay on it. I'm looking forward to it. It's kind of exciting, something different. That's why I'm excited for it. They also added 3 new races for next year, road courses. So that's coming up for next year. Getting back to this year, they have started their round of 12. They had their race last week in Vegas. Kurt Busch won. Boy from there won. And you see the standings there. Clint Boyer is sitting in 10th. Top 8 make it this next time through. So Clint is in 10th. He's 20 points back. He's got 4 races to go before they go to the round of 8 on October 18th. So we'll see how that goes. So next races are Talladega this weekend, the Charlotte Motor Speedway road course, and then the Kansas Speedway is the last one, or the start of the round of 8. So they got 2 more. Clint's got to get going. Thinking of next year, thinking ahead, like we mentioned before. Mark your calendars, February 9th, Daytona. The Clash at Daytona starts then. Daytona 500 is set for Valentine's Day next year. What a better way to spend
Romantic
Valentine's Day than watching Daytona 500. So that should be exciting. That's coming up there too. Some baseball news as the playoffs are going on. Before we get into that, the Mets catcher, because we talked about the Mets here, Francisco Alvarez. He's their number 2 prospect in the minors right now. He's an A-ball. In 2018, he was 18 years old when he signed with the Mets. His first contract there. He's been doing very well. Hit .462 with 2 homers and 10 RBIs in 7 games at rookie level.
There he is.
Yep, before getting promoted. Then he played 35 games at rookie advanced Kingsport. He averaged .282 with 5 homers. The reason we bring it up, he signed with Sydney in the Australian Baseball League. We've mentioned Australian Baseball League here before. So you'll see him playing down there if you watch those games on YouTube, like we kind of pimp here. Kind of a name to follow. It's a name, you'll go, hey, I know that name. In a couple of years, you'll hear it again. The Melbourne team, defending champs, they'll be starting their season December 18th. So as everything else is done here, obviously our baseball season will be done before Halloween. All the other sports will be wrapped up. It's Christmas time. College football's going on, mostly. But just get a little break from college football. You'll have some baseball, keep you going. Keep you in that baseball swing. Speaking of baseball, a stat I saw about the Pittsburgh Pirates came up. We put it on our social media page. The Pirates were 19-41. They played just the Central Division teams. And Central Division, a lot of guys go between both leagues. Said every one of their wins came against a playoff team. Well, those 2 divisions, not counting the Pirates, teams that didn't make the playoffs, that meant the Royals and Tigers swept the Pirates. Everybody else that they beat made the playoffs. So,
oh my God.
There's a little sweet for the Royals and Tigers. Hey, at least we swept the Pirates. But look at the way some teams are upset in playoffs so far. Not a thing to be bragging about. We lucked out today with the show. First round is done in the MLB playoffs. So we start up again this weekend. We got Tampa Bay and the Yankees, then Houston and the A's. National League, it's Dodgers, Padres. And the Marlins, Team Teal, the bottom feeders, as they were called at the beginning of the year by the Phillies, against the Braves. If you notice that when you watch the Marlins-Cubs game, they had a shirt that said bottom feeders on it. First week of the season when the Phillies played the Marlins took 2 out of 3. The Phillies announcer said, you can't be losing games to these bottom feeders like that. Well, if that didn't put a spark in their engine, Marlins have been using that as a rally cry in their locker room all year long. Hence, the bottom feeders beat the Cubs. The Cubs were kind of like the Twins this year. Only the Twins did good at home, then lost to a bad team. The Cubs had a good record, but they were bad at home. And you could say, yeah, but there was no crowd. It shouldn't matter. Yeah, but you're at home. You got home cooking. It's your own field. You should be used to it. You should be comfortable. Cubs hit like junk at home all year, and they proved it in the playoffs. Twins played great at home all year, played like junk in the playoffs. I don't know if it's something in the Twins players' heads. We've rotated enough players through, so it's not like the last couple years it's stuck in their head. We've changed managers. We've flushed out the entire team since then because it's been 14 years, 16 years. But I don't know if just the press clippings get in their head or what the deal is why the Twins can't win a playoff game. Game, not a series, a game.
Single game.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, the A's went years till this year without winning a series. The last series the A's won was against the Twins until this year. But on the flip side of that, now granted they haven't made it every year, but in the last 28 years, the Marlins have never lost a playoff series. Now granted they've been in twice and won the World Series both times. That's not split hairs. They have not lost a playoff series. That's got to be great momentum for them too. So we'll see how it goes. I like the matchups right now. Padres, Dodgers, and the Braves and Marlins in National League. It could be great matchups. A's and Astros, I'm excited for the A's to I think the A's can handle that one pretty easy. A's had a rough ride with the White Sox, but the White Sox are a good team. Tampa Bay and the Yankees. Tampa's got a good team, but as much as it hurts to say, the Yankees are the Yankees. So they got kind of a rivalry between those two teams too. We'll see how it goes. So it should be some good baseball to watch.
I've got a couple notes when you're done, Andy, too. I've got a couple notes regarding the playoffs.
Yeah, my picks on that right now, I'm going to ride the wave. I'm going to be the bandwagon jumper. I'm going to take the Marlins over the Braves, Padres over Dodgers. So I'm kind of going the upsets in the National League. And I'm taking the favorites in the American League, Tampa Bay and Oakland. That's what I got for baseball. So what do you got for baseball?
Well, my brackets are busted already, so I'm not going to go ahead with any predictions here. But if you take a look at the brackets, I've got two interesting notes here, Andy, and I'm not sure if we posted this or not on the Sports and Songs Facebook page, but in the National League and the American League, all teams from the Central Division got beat in the first round. Now, in the American League, we sent 3 teams, the Indians, Twins, and the White Sox. All were eliminated. In the National League, 4. Both wild cards came from the Central, along with the champion and the second place team. National League Central sends 4 teams to the postseason. Every team gets beat. So the Central is 0 for 7 in the first round of the playoffs, which means the next round is going to be all East against the West. Now the problem here, and I consider it a problem. Some people may like it, but these next matchups, they're not inter-division, they're intra. So we got the East in the American League, 2 teams in the East facing each other, Tampa Bay, New York. And then in the other bracket, it's 2 teams in the West, Houston against the A's. So these are teams familiar with each other, teams that played in the bubble COVID season, all season against each other, are going to be facing themselves in the ALDS. Now, same thing in the NLDS. It's 2 West teams, Padres and Dodgers, playing in one of the brackets, and 2 East teams, the Marlins and the Braves. So I always like to see the interdivision, teams that don't normally play each other in the postseason. And I'm just that way. But now we don't have that this year. We got all the teams that are basically they're used to facing each other. But these will be good. But for the Major League Baseball fan who's a big fan of the Central, there's no teams from the Central. All 7 got beat. Very interesting. That's my only tidbit, Andy, for the postseason. But the games begin on Tuesday, I believe.
Yeah, and on the flip side of what you said, though, yes, they're all kind of divisional rivalries this round. But the AL Championship and NL Championship will be East against West, East against West.
That is going to be
a good thing right there.
The championship series will be excellent because that will be very much like that. Teams that have not faced each other particularly this season, correct?
Yep.
And keep in mind, even though San Diego won, they are playing these next rounds in neutral sites, and one of the sites for the American League will be San Diego. So Petco Park is going to get their fill of baseball here with the grounds crew at that facility.
Yep.
Oh, Dodgers too, I guess.
Yep.
They're also hosting. All right.
That's good stuff. Let's kind of moving on to playoffs, if you will. Hockey will wrap up. Congratulations to the Tampa Bay Lightning winning. So they won in 5. They won in 6. They spotted out the extra game. That was awfully nice of them. Let's see Tampa Bay win. It was fun to watch the celebration. Speaking of finals, the WNBA have their finals going on. It is Las Vegas Aces against the Seattle Storm, the 1 and 2 seeds playing each other. Aces beat the Connecticut Sun to advance, and the Storm, of course, beat the Lynx. In the regular season, Vegas did beat Seattle both times, but going into last night's game, Seattle did win. In the game, the Seattle Storm's veteran guard Sue Bird, she's been playing 17 years in the league.
Wow.
Turns 40 in a couple weeks. Not to mention a lady's age on here, but just to put it in perspective. She had 16 assists to set a WNBA playoff record. Brianna Stewart had 37 points, including 11 to start off the fourth quarter. They won the game 93-80. Just a few notes about Sue Bird. She's kind of one of their legends, their greats, if you will. She's won 3 NBA championships with the Storm in 04, 10, and 18. She's got 4 Olympic gold medals, 2 NCAA championships. Now, granted, she played at UConn, so just keep that in mind. 4 FIBA World Cups in 02, 10, 14, and 18. She's one of only 11 women to obtain all 4 accolades. She also was a 5-time European League champion because a lot of these WNBA gals play in Europe. So she's winning championships everywhere she goes. Forever playing cribbage, I want her on my team. Like, she's a winner. I mean, all-stars, MVPs, everything else. So just kind of compare that when you hear all the talk about LeBron James in the playoffs, all he's done. Sue Bird's kind of doing the same thing where she's done it all with one team, with the Seattle Storm, but she keeps winning championships and is a great player everywhere she goes too. So not taken away from LeBron, but the women's sports have their equivalents to it. They all have their superstar player, their go-to player. And Sue Bird, because it's, and this is no rip, because it's Seattle, it's not the big market city. She's not out lipping off on the media about everything, this, that, or the other. She's just quietly making these accolades. Now, I'm sure in Seattle, it's big news out there all the time. Local girl does good. But it's kind of nice to see these people doing great, and you don't see them in the media for other stuff. Be it good, bad, or indifferent. She's not selling cars or cheeseburgers or making political statements. She's just shutting up and playing basketball, which is nice to see every now and then. Their schedule is said they played Friday night. They got another game Sunday afternoon at 3 or 2 o'clock our time. Then Tuesday, then if necessary Thursday, and then next Sunday to wrap up for WNBA. Going to kind of flip gears here to high school. Going to come back to college later. Minnesota High School League had their board of directors meeting on Thursday regarding some of the fall and winter sports. Just some cliff notes from it here. And you can find all this in the Minnesota High School League on their page. This is not my notes from the meeting. It's straight from them. The board of directors approved a bunch of different things. Here's the start dates for the winter activities here from Minnesota. So those of you who follow these or have friends who play or participate, just so you know. November 9th is going to be the start of the dance season. Boys basketball and boys hockey will start November 23rd. November 30th will be the adapted floor hockey, alpine skiing, and Nordic skiing, wrestling, boys swimming and diving, and girls hockey. And then December 7th will be gymnastics and girls basketball. Now for the not so fun part. Postseason competition. The board of directors approved in a roll call vote. League staff proposed plans for section tournament play for girls tennis, boys and girls soccer, boys and girls cross country, and girls swimming and diving. The girls tennis tournament will be held outdoors, the higher seed hosting. Boys and girls soccer will be beginning October 12th and will conclude by the 24th of October. The bracket tournament style for the higher seeds. Swimming and diving competition will take place the week of October 19th at multiple sites. Cross country for boys and girls will take place the week of October 12th with a maximum of 4 teams competing. Sorry, I'm not a track person, so I don't know how many normally compete, but they're maxing it at 4 this year. They'll consist of 7 runners or team, the top 5 scoring. Board of directors also did a roll call vote, denied the proposal to hold off a fall season post-sectional event. So, yes, there's other sports are starting. I don't know for sure. The way they've been changing, they may have said no for playoffs now for some of these winter sports starting. Let's wait a few weeks and see what happens. If they change their mind again, if things are going better, maybe they'll open it up. But for now, they're saying no. You got your section tournament. That's it. Have a nice season. See you. Bye. But never say never. We'll see what happens. With that, some sports are going on. Boys and girls soccer, we have their rankings out. 2A for boys, Champlain Park's first, Minnetonka second. Class A, we got Breck at first. And us being local here, we'll get the local plug. Waconia is 7th in boys soccer right now. Shout out to the local boys here. But yeah, there's a soccer rankings. Girls soccer, very interesting. 2A Rosemont is first. Edina is second. And then Class A, you got Benilde at first, of course, Holy Angel second. And then girls, Waconia is 10th. So there's that. We will backtrack now. There's some NCAA football. Got a snapshot, their top 15. They have released their new top 25, including all Big Ten and Pac-12 schools are going to all start playing. So like Ohio State's 6th with a 0-0 record. They even got 4 first place votes. So, I don't know. I looked at it. If you count down, the Gophers would have been like 28th or something like that. They did get some votes, but they didn't make the top 25. But they were getting respect. Again, we don't know who's coming back. We don't know how they're going to be. Penn State was 10th. Like I said, Ohio State 6th. Oregon was 14. I don't know how this is going to play out. Yes, it's fair to plug them in now, kind of like a preseason poll, even though they'll play for a few weeks. But let's see what happens. It's college football. Gopher football, Rashad Bateman. We mentioned him last week, a few weeks back. He said, hey, I ain't playing. There's a pandemic going on. Tough words from a guy saying he's not going to play on a team who canceled their season at the time. Funny, Gophers come back, say they're playing. Rashad Bateman wants to play. Well, it's come out that during that time he said he didn't want to play, he had tested positive for COVID-19. So he does battle asthma, not taken away from that, but he battles asthma. And he said he wasn't feeling good and this and that. So we'll see how that goes. If he's going to keep an eye on him all year, what's going on. He did have some issues too because he had to reinstate as a student athlete because when he said he wasn't going to play, he signed with sports agent Blake Baratz to get financial benefits for housing, car rental, food, drink, all this other stuff over a 6-week period. So now he had to reinstate for amateur status.
I was wondering about that. I didn't know how that went. So now he does have to go back and do all the paperwork to get back on the
Yes.
team.
Yep. Yep.
Wow.
Basketball players, it happens every now and then. I remember Rashad Leonard, Gopher basketball player years ago, did that after his junior year, entered the NBA draft, did not like where he got drafted, so he refused to sign. So since he never signed with anybody, he was able to go back to college. Now, I think they've changed some of the rules on that, going, no, don't waste our time. Either you're in or you're out. But some players have done that in the past. I think with football back in the day, they did that too. Oh, I don't like John Elway. No, I ain't playing here. Eli Manning. No, I ain't playing here. I would love to have got out of college. Every job I've had in my life, never had anyone offer me a job and say, no, I don't want to work there. So. But yeah, so that's going on. He's had to do some paperwork for that. That's how that all goes. They are watching Bateman's for his health coming up. He is projected to be a high pick after this year for the football. He is a good receiver, not taken away from him. But we'll see how that goes too, because Gopher season starting late, going late, and the draft being in April. He'll be fresh in a lot of guys' minds. I think some of this college football going late could help players like him in the draft, where, oh, your bowl game was early December and we forgot about you. Their season's ending late, and the draft a few months after, I think, could help them. That's what I got on that. Just another note: not U.S. Gopher women's soccer team did make academic all team. Hats off to them. There's a story about that on our Facebook page. Average 3.0 or better for a lot of the girls there is what you got to do. They've done this multiple times, the girls soccer team, a lot of youth teams. So hats off to them. One final sports note here, a little wrestling tidbit. NWA wrestling. Trevor Murdoch won their national heavyweight title this last week, beating Aaron Stevens. Aaron Stevens is rumored to be going to AEW. James Storm, who's part of the NWA Tag Team Champs, has been rumored to go back to WWF or WWE. James Storm is still listed as part of the Tag Team Champs for NWA, so I don't know if that's official yet, what they're doing, how they're handling that. NWA is still claiming, Billy Corgan is still claiming, hey, we're coming back, be patient. We're coming back, be patient. But a lot of guys are starting to slip through, so I don't know what's going on with that. Just have to keep following their sites if you're a fan. NWA. Just keep hoping and praying they come back decently. If not, I hope their wrestlers go elsewhere so you can keep enjoying them. Before we get to the music highlight, or music and sports birthdays and history, Medina Entertainment Center does have some concerts coming up. They are starting to plug stuff, so if you check out their site, you'll see it. A few things we got: October 9th, Rumble Seat. This is a John Cougar Mellencamp tribute band is be playing. October 16th, a band called Them Pesky Kids. Them Pesky Kids. 80s tribute band, they'll be there. 17th, Free Fallin', Tom Petty tribute band. 23rd is Transit Authority, is a Chicago tribute band. The band Chicago, not Chicago-based music. October 30th, Belfast Cowboys, Van Morrison tribute band. And on Halloween night, Trilogy Tribute Tour. They do The Doors, Pink Floyd, and AC/DC. There's a little mix there. And AC/DC has a new album coming out. They've got a new social media websites. Sounding pretty good. But like all AC/DC albums, you've heard one, you've heard them all. But you know what? It's been working for 30 years for them too, so 40 years. So hats off to AC/DC coming back. But that's what I got right now, sir, for that. And before we go to history and birthday, a little bit of the new Striper one, some more of that for you. Has not changed in 30 years.
That's Striper. I've got one trivia question relating back to baseball and
Okay.
the COVID shortened Major League Baseball season. This will be a trivia question that'll be forever known, so we should get the name right now. Starling Marte will be forever known as a trivia question answer in the 60-game Major League Baseball season for the Marlins. He led the league in games played. He had 61. 61 games played in the COVID-shortened season. Now, we all know COVID this year, Major League Baseball announced they're going to play 60 games. So you ask, how does Starling Marte have 61 games played in this season?
Well, usually with baseball, you hear the number 61, you always assume asterisks afterwards.
Yep. And this one is interesting. He'll have the record for games played, 61. He was traded midway through the season. Played on the new team that had an extra game scheduled that week, during that week, which was normally the day off. He ended up not being hurt or injured all season long, played in a record 61 games in the 2020 60-game season. Only player to have that. So I think that'll be a trivia question down the road, one of those oddball questions that he will be forever remembered as a footnote in baseball history.
I remember
That's all I've got.
Last season, someone in the NFL, the name is blanking me right now, he played 17 games because he got traded before his team's bye week. The team he went to already had a bye week, so he had played all 17 weeks.
17 games played in a single NFL 16-game season. Yep. So that's the only one that I found as far as oddball. And I suppose we should be getting close to the season-ending awards for Major League Baseball, which will be at the end of the season. But
I know the Silver Slugger were announced the other day for each position, but that's based on stats. There's no voting for that, so that is what it is.
Yeah, like for instance, we know the batting champion, the home run title. There was no Triple Crown this year. Things like that we do already know, but will be interesting in the short season who will be winning what. Go ahead.
All right, here we go. We'll start with the sports history and birthdays. September 28th, 1941, Ted Williams ended the baseball season with a .406 batting average. No one's done that since. I don't think anyone ever will. 1951, Norm Van Brocklin of the Rams passes for a record 554 yards. And in 1969, Joe Kapp of the Minnesota Vikings passes for 7 touchdowns against the Baltimore Colts. And they did win the game, 52-14, in case. 1974, California Angels, Nolan Ryan, his third no-hitter at the time, beating the Twins 4-0. Let's see. The Minnesota Twins, here's what I know about the Twins. The Twins, an American League charter franchise that began as the Washington Senators in 1901, have been no-hit 9 times. But not a single one of the no-hitters came when they were the home team in either DC or Minnesota.
Wow. So
every time they've been no-hit, it's always been on the road. So that's kind of a bright spot to the story. 1984, I remember I cried this day. Cleveland Indians were down 10-0 to the Twins and ended up winning 11-10.
I'll never forget that game.
I have the pitching box score here. Ron Davis is all I'm going to say.
Oh, yes.
The next snap, Ron Davis. I mean, now Frankie Barolo started the game, 5 2/3, gave up 8 runs. The bullpen couldn't hold it down. Pete Filson actually got a hold for that game. And then Ron Davis, at that time, was his 14th blown save of the year to make him 7-11 on the year.
Wow.
Way to go, RD. 1993, El Presidente, Dennis Martinez, as the 7th player to win 100 games in both the American League and National League. 1995, Dennis Martinez, as mentioned above, has a pitch that breaks Kirby Puckett's jaw in the Indians' 12-4 win. Very scary when that happened. When you see the team leader Kirby go down like that, like a bag of rocks, he just dropped.
Like a sack of potatoes.
Yes. Dropped him like third period French. 1996, Orioles Roberto Alomar suspended 5 games for spitting it up. Not his most gracious moments in his career. Roberto Alomar, good player. Don't get me wrong, but that was not his character. Something snapped on him that day, I think.
I remember seeing that was unreal. Of course, that couldn't happen today with the COVID. Spitting would be a big faux pas, something you just wouldn't do. But boy, that made big news. He was suspended and everything.
Yep. 2008, the last game was played at Shea Stadium before its demolition happened between baseball teams, the New York Mets and the Florida Marlins, and the Marlins won the game 4-2. Birthdays: 1954, Seahawks legend Steve Largent, or as some people like to call him, Congressman Steve Largent. He did serve in Congress for years. He originally signed with the Oilers. He was on their practice squad before he went to Seattle. So he was drafted by the Oilers. Played his entire career in Seattle. He was like I said, did some stuff with he was Tennessee, so Oklahoma governor. He actually got a call a few years ago, as you may know, looking over your shoulder there, when Jerry Rice went to go play for Seattle at the end of his career. He called Largent for permission because Largent's number was retired, number 80. Steve said, yeah, wear it, go ahead, whatever. But that was, Jerry Rice did play the I'm Jerry Rice, give me the number card. He checked, he was decent about it. So that was cool. Yeah, Steve Largent had a good career. Him and Jim Zorn were the Seahawks for a few years there. Many of those 4-12 seasons. But he was a 4-time second-team All-Pro, one-time first-team All-Pro. Altogether, 7 Pro Bowls for Mr. Largent there. So very good career for him. 1962, Grant Fuhr, goalie from the Edmonton Oilers, was born in Alberta, Canada. In 1967, Jake Reed, Vikings, wide receiver, tight end. Kind of was that beginning of the tight end can line up outside as receiver for a while. Jake Reed, birthday 1967. September 29th, 1947, World Series record crowd of 73,365 were at Yankee Stadium. The draw for that gate that day was just over $325,000. I'm pretty sure home plate seats at Yankee Stadium for the World Series next year will go for more than that. That's what the whole, that's the value of the dollar in baseball now. 1954, Willie Mays made his famous over-the-shoulder catch off of Vic Wertz's 460-foot drop. Game 1 of the World Series. There's Willie Mays making the catch.
There it is.
The Say Hey Kid.
Now let's look at that number again, the distance, Andy. Let's remind the viewers how far that went.
Yeah, 460. That's 15th, 16th row at most stadiums nowadays.
And back then they had stadiums that were that big. Right now there is no stadiums that go out past the low 400s.
I think 410 is probably the deepest. Yeah.
411. But this is 400. He made the catch at 460.
Yep. And as you can tell by the picture, he was on the warning track, so it's like but he was getting there.
Yep. That's a blast. That's a blast by the hitter.
Yeah.
What's the hitter's name?
Vic Wertz.
Yeah, so, Vic just pounded the ball, 460. That'd be a home run anywhere, well deep into the stands, if not the upper deck.
Oh, yeah.
As a fly ball catch in center field by Willie Mays. But
that not exactly a can of corn catch, but yeah, it was a.
Yep, unreal.
F7 scorebook for you, though. No matter how you catch it, F7. 1957. New York Giants play and lose their last game at the Polo Grounds 9-1 to Pittsburgh. We're going over this. A lot of these teams had their last game at their stadium. We're losing these games. So, 1965, Phillies catcher Pat Carrolls sets a record by reaching base twice on catcher's interference in one game and 6 times throughout the season.
Oh.
So another catcher, he knew how to get that play going. That was a good move on his part. 1976, Tommy Lasorda replaces Walter Alston as the Dodgers manager. Of course, Tommy was there for years. Great manager, good career. 1986, Cubs' Greg Maddux defeats Phillies' Mike Maddux. First for the rookie brothers. They both pitched against each other. So I think the Perry brothers did that once too. Did they not? Jim Gaylord, I think, pitched against each other once.
I think so.
Greg Maddux went on to a good career. Mike Maddux became a great pitching coach after that. 1988, U.S. men's basketball team beats Australia 78-49 to take the bronze medal. Bronze medal at the Seoul Olympics. Last time U.S. represented a team that did not feature NBA players. So after that, with the Dream Team in 92, and the rest is, well, that year was history. I know that they have not always won the gold. We've had some international tournaments where our NBA players got a little cocky and have lost, but that kind of set the standard there. But in 1988, the U.S. retained the women's basketball title at Seoul with a 77-70 win over Yugoslavia. So the women held their part up, the men, yeah. 2002. I don't know if you ever listened to Viking football on the radio, but this soundbite was good. It was Seattle running back Sean Alexander sets an NFL record for most touchdowns in a half with 5 in the first half of a 48-23 win over Seattle at Seahawks Stadium. Runs up 4+ 80-yard receptions. It's not that the one where the owner was in the press box with Paul Allen at the Viking game and just was up there for 2 plays, and one of them was Alexander running like 80 yards down the sideline. Does that ring a bell?
It may have been. It may have been.
I think it was Seattle. I don't guarantee it was against Seattle, but birthday is 1907 for a birthday. Gene Autry, the singing cowboy, did Back in the Saddle, Rudolph's Red-Nosed Reindeer. Also owned the Angels for a number of years. The old cowboy owned the Angels from 61 to 97. 1948, Brian Gumbel, birthday. Born in Louisiana. 1985, Megatron, Calvin Johnson was born. 6-time Pro Bowler from the Lions. Also played College Football Hall of Fame, born in Georgia. 1988, Kevin Durant, basketball player, birthday. September 30th, White Sox lefty Doc White pitches his 5th shutout in 18 days.
Wow.
5 starts in 18 days, first of all, let's just say that. That was his 5th shutout in 18 days.
Complete games as well. Wow.
Yeah. Then 1962, the New York Mets lost their record 120th game as the Cubs turned a triple play and beat the Mets 5-1. 100 on a 162 game season, lost 120. Yeah. 1971, the last Washington Senators home game. Yankees win career 5th forfeit game. Yankees were trailing 4-2 in the 9th with 2 outs. Fans rushed the field. 1979, the Brewers lose 5-0, ending 213 straight games without being shut out. So that's a pretty good stat there. 1984, California Angels Mike Witt pitches a perfect game over the Texas Rangers, 1-0. 1990, Chicago White Sox beat Seattle 2-1 in the last game at Comiskey Park. So there, the home team finally won a game in their last part. Birthday is 1962, former Met and Chicago Cub Dave Magadan, birthday. Magadan was a good pinch hitter, good left-hand hitter. I think he went on to coaching afterwards. Very solid player. October 1st, 1924, Major League Baseball Commissioner Kennesaw Mountain Landis bans Giants outfielder Jimmy O'Connell and coach Cozy Dolan from the World Series after they attempt to bribe the Phillies shortstop. So, lots of gambling back in the day. 1932, Babe Ruth, legendary called his home run against Wrigley Field. Lots of controversy if he called the shot or not. Some say he did, some say he didn't. And you take your warm-up swing, you just kind of point the bat out. How many guys do that anyway? Was it a called shot? It's Babe Ruth. I'm not going to argue with him. 1950, Connie Mack. Matt manages his last game as a Philadelphia Athletics manager. He managed her from 1901 to 1950. And they beat the Senators 5-3.
Here's the image here.
Connie Mack back in the day, he always wore a suit on the bench. Not a uniform with the rest. Connie always had a nice suit on. because baseball is one of the only sports you see where the coaches and that are all in uniform. I'm so glad basketball doesn't do that. So glad football, although football would be okay. I would like to see Denny Green in a big jersey running up down the sidelines. That would have been kind of cool. He'd go with his old jersey on. That'd be kind of neat, you know. But baseball, just they always wear their uniforms, and I don't know why, just the way it is. 1961, New York Yankees right fielder Roger Maris becomes Major League Baseball's all-time home run leader, and he passes Babe Ruth with number 61 off Boston rookie Tracy Stallard in a 1-0 win at Yankee Stadium. 1967, Richard Petty continues his phenomenal NASCAR winning streak by taking the Wilkins 400 in North Wilkesboro Speedway for an unprecedented 10th consecutive win. NASCAR or not, 10 straight wins in any era. That's unheard of. 1970, the Phillies beat the Expos 2-1 in the final game at Connie Mack Stadium in Philadelphia. Fans swarmed the field and destroyed it after the game. 1989. This is when I remember this. This was kind of fun. Major League batting titles were decided on the final day of the regular season. American League, Kirby Puckett goes 2 for 5, edging Carney Lancer 339 to 336. And the National League, Tony Gwynn goes 3 for 4 to beat Will Clark 336 to 333. All 4 great hitters right there at the time. It was so fun to watch those. Puckett was a hacker. Tony Gwynn was a student of the game. So, and Will Clark had a pretty swing. Carney Lansford looked like he'd overdosed on caffeine and tobacco. He was shaking so hard up the. That was Carney Lansford. Hands were always shaking. It always kind of made me nervous watching him bat, you know. But Carney Lansford, good hitter for his time. Yeah, final day of the season, the batting title comes down. 1994, NHL owners began a lockout of players. Last 100 days. Season is shortened to 48 games instead of the regular 84, and players seek collective bargaining and owners a salary cap after that. 1995, Cleveland Indians end Major League Baseball season at 144. 100 wins, 44 losses. Set a record 30-game margin of victory over second place Kansas City Royals in the AL standings. Picture of the standings there. Cleveland was 144. The Royals, second place team, 70 and 74. So 30 games.
Oh.
And of course, the Twins had 56 wins, or 44 out of first place.
I wonder when their magic number was met, or how early in the season.
Yeah, I did not follow that after theirs. And the postseason, of course, Cleveland lost in the World Series to the Braves that year. That was the last time, or before a couple years ago, one of the last times the Braves were in. The Indians went over Seattle 4-2, beat Red Sox 3-0. So they marched through the playoffs pretty easily. And the Braves came up. That was one of the Braves during their run of championships. But just imagine the media today, the Braves and Indians in a World Series. Well, I would have gave this year to have that happen. 1995, Mike Mussina tosses Baltimore Orioles' 5th consecutive Major League Baseball shutout and ending the season 4-0 with a victory over the Tigers. 1997, Minnesota Timberwolves forward Kevin Garnett, just 2 years out of high school at the time, signed a record 6-year, $123 million contract extension. And in 1997, Nebraska Cornhuskers, always be the Cornhuskers to me. I can't just call them the Huskers. Records his 250th career victory with 67-7 drubbing over Oklahoma. Osborne, in his 25th season, reaches the milestone faster than anyone in 301 games. Tom Osborne, I also believe he went on to was a senator or a congressman in D.C. after he was done coaching too. So, birthdays, 1945. Rod Carew was born, 18-time All-Star. MVP in 77 for the Twins was born in the Panama Canal Zone. One of the few times you see a baseball player on Time magazine, especially for the way the Twins were then. Rod Carew, very good man. The one thing that bothered me about Rod's career at the end, ended it with the Angels, got it, big hits with the Angels at the end. One of the things that always read me is Angels retired his number before we did. That kind of bothers me. I don't know if the Angels jumped on it for publicity or the Twins sat on it too long. I don't know why, but I think it should just be a respect thing. Don't retire this guy's number till the team he made it with retires it. That's just me. It's kind of an unwritten rule. They back up the Kansas City Royals retired Harmon's number before we did. He played there 3 years. Get over it. But I digress. Speaking of Twins players and birthdays, 1955, Jeff Reardon, 4-time All-Star with the Bulls and then with the Twins. Remember the championship teams are one of our governed for us. 1963, bless you. 1963, Mark McGuire, first baseman. He was a coach, a 12-time All-Star. Played for the A's and the Cardinals. He was also a hitting coach for the Cardinals, Dodgers, and Padres till just a couple years ago. October 2nd, history. 1916, pitching in his third start in 5 days. Philadelphia Philly right-hander Grover Cleveland Alexander records his 20th Major League Baseball record, 16th shutout of the year in a 2-0 win over the Boston Braves.
Wow.
Third start in 5 days just to get to that number. Got to get those records. Even back then, they had to get those records. Because I think back then, a lot of them had performance bonuses in their contracts. So maybe it was a bonus deal. 1920, Cincinnati Reds and Pittsburgh Pirates play the first and only Major League Baseball triple header in the 20th century. Reds won the first 2 games 13-4 and 7-3. Pirates avoid the sweep by winning 6-0 in the finale. Triple header. 1932, the Washington Redskins, as the Boston Braves then, play franchise debut NFL game. They lost to the Brooklyn Dodgers at Braves Field 14-0. 1938, Baseball Hall of Famer pitcher Bob Feller strikes out at the time a record 18 Detroit Tigers. His Cleveland Indians still lose 4-1.
Wow.
Kind of like Andy Hawkins in a way there. 1943, Yankees sweep 14th Major League Baseball doubleheader of the year. You don't get 14 doubleheaders in all the league in a year. The Yankees played 14 that year and swept them all. 1970, Detroit Tigers general manager Jim Campbell gives a controversial Billy Martin a 2-year deal for 71-72 to manage the Tigers at a well above Major League Baseball average of $65,000 a year. Now you hear guys getting fined that in a game. Here he made them. 1972, the Expos pitcher Billy Stoneman no-hits the New York Mets 7-0 at Parc Jerry, or Jerry Park as it's American term it too. The first MLB no-hitter ever pitched in Canada. And speaking of the Houston Astros, their coach, 1977, Dusty Baker hits his 70th home run of the season against the Astros, J.R. Richard. Dodgers become the first team in Major League Baseball to have 4 players hit over 30 home runs in a year. Baker, Steve Garvey, Reggie Smith with 32, and Ron Say, the Penguin, had 30. 1983, wide receiver Art Monk begins his NFL career of 183 consecutive games with a reception as the Washington Redskins 37-35 win over the Los Angeles Raiders. And 1984, due to a strike by Major League Baseball umpires, first 4 NLCS games played with replacement umpires. In Game 1, the Cubs beat the Padres 13-0. 1985, Detroit first baseman Darrell Evans hits his 40th home run in the Tigers' 4-2 win over the Toronto Blue Jays. First to record 40 home runs in a Major League season in both leagues.
Wow.
1986, Mike Scott of the Astros. Mike Sandpaper Scott finishes the Major League Baseball regular season with 306 strikeouts, with 8 and a 2-1 win over the San Francisco Giants. Third pitcher ever to reach 300 strikeouts in a season. That same year, Dwight Gooden became the first pitcher to collect 200 strikeouts in his first 3 seasons. So, 1988, Minnesota Twins tally just over 3 million in attendance at the Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome. First AL club to break the 3 million mark in baseball. Also in 88, In a season-ending 7-5 win in St. Louis, New York Mets' Kevin McReynolds establishes a major league record, stealing 21 bases without being caught during the regular season. Kevin McReynolds, one of those ball players, you look at him, he's up there standing like, someone hitting batting practice. And when you watched him run, he didn't look like he was running that fast. He looked like he was lollygagging. 21 steals, very few errors in the outfield. Very solid player for the Mets back then. Not given enough credit for what he did, I think. 1991, Toronto Blue Jays clinched the AL East title with a 6-5 win versus the California Angels, becoming the first sports franchise in history to draw 4 million fans in one season. That new stadium in Toronto at the time, Skydome, was huge. So, 1994, legendary Miami coach Don Shula beats Cincinnati head coach and his son David Shula, the first ever meeting of NFL father-sons. Dolphins won the game 23-7. And in 2004, Montreal Expos earned the last win in the franchise Major League Baseball history, beating the Mets 6-3 at Chase Stadium. Brad Wilkerson hits the Expos' final home run in the ninth inning, his 32nd of the career. And in 2004, Jeff Kent becomes the all-time home run leader in Major League Baseball for second baseman. He hits 2 in the Astros' 9-3 win over the Rockies. 302 overall home runs breaks Ryan Sandberg, who had set the record. Birthdays, 1942, Steve Sable of NFL Films. Birthday. 1957, Gordy Roberts, American hockey player, Stanley Cup Finals with the Penguins. Did have a few cups of coffee here with the North Stars back in the day. Birthday. 1962, Mark Rippon, Canadian, NFL quarterback, Super Bowl MVP in 91 with the Redskins. Was born in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. 1970, Twins pitching coach Eddie Guardado. Born All-Star in 2003, save leader in 2002. The Twins was born in Stockton, California. October 3rd, 1951. Shot heard around the world by Bobby Thompson. Hits a 3-run homer for Alpha Bronca of the Dodgers. Bottom of the ninth, 1 out. To give the Giants the dramatic 5-4 win. Sure today you'll see a lot of that on the news highlights. Hear the shot. 1970, first umpire strike in Major League Baseball lasts 1 day during the League Championship Series. Covered earlier for the National League on there. 1981, Milwaukee Brewers and Montreal Expos clinched their first ever postseason appearances. Brewers beat Detroit 2-1 in the AL East title. Expos beat the Mets 5-4 in the NL East for the second playoff spot. That was during that strike season where you had the winner of the first half, played the winner of the second half.
Yes.
That Expos team that there, you look at who's on that team and how they just blew that thing up afterwards. Walker was on that team. Pedro, I mean, just it's sad to look at that team the Expos had if they would have stuck together, what they could have done. 2001, San Francisco Giants slugger Barry Bonds is walked for the 171st time in an 11-8 win over Houston, breaking Babe Ruth's 1923 single-season mark. 2004, Seattle Mariners Japanese right fielder Ichiro Suzuki. Everybody forgets it. Ichiro was not his last name. That was his first name. Yeah, but they put Ichiro in his jersey. Ichiro Suzuki adds 2 more singles and 3-0 defeat Texas to finish the season with a major league record, 262 hits.
Wow, that is incredible.
That's incredible. 162 game season. Yeah, it's unreal. 2012, Miguel Cabrera goes 0-2, and nothing Tigers win against the Royals to end the season as Major League Baseball's first Triple Crown winner since Carl Yastrzemski in '67. He led the AL with a .330 average, 44 homers, and 139 RBIs. Birthday, St. Paul native Dave Winfield. Birthday, had a cup of coffee here at the Twins. The end of his career too. Dave was drafted in 3 sports: basketball, football, and baseball. It was also, I think, track was a sport of his. I mean, he did everything but hockey, I think, because too big for hockey. He was a monster. 54, Dennis Eckersley, birthday. Cy Young Award winner with the A's, played for Boston as a starter for a while. October 4th, 1969, Major League Baseball holds first league championship game. National League Championship Series, the New York Mets beat the Braves. That's right. Good news for the Mets. They won 9-5. Baltimore beat the Twins 4-3. Mets went on to win that World Series. 1987, first Scab Sunday of the NFL with the replacement players as a result of the players' strike. Then they played 4 weeks or so. Players returned October 15th. 2018, New England's Tom Brady becomes only the third quarterback to record 500 career touchdown passes when he connects with Josh Gordon in a 38-24 win over the Colts in Foxborough. Birthdays, 1917, Marv Harshman, American Basketball Hall of Fame coach at Pacific Lutheran in Washington State in Washington, was born in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. 1928, Rip Rokopolsky, American League Baseball outfielder, All-Star 56, World Series 59, born in Sauk Rapids, Minnesota. 1944, Tony La Russa, American League manager for Chicago and Oakland and St. Louis, born in Tampa, Florida. Speaking of managers and former players, 1949, John Wathen of the Royals, birthday. In Cedar Rapids, Iowa. In 1978, former Twin Kyle Loesch, 14th pitcher to beat all 30 Major League Baseball teams at the time. I played for the Twins and the Cardinals, mostly. Was born in California. And that is what I got for sports. Lengthy sports part for history and birthdays. We'll lead into the music segment now. Music, September 28th, 1991. Thanks to the proliferation of the new country radio stations and a more accurate reporting, country music goes mainstream as Garth Brooks' Rope in the Wind becomes the first country album to debut at #1 on the Billboard 200 charts. 1972, the Temptations released Papa Was a Rolling Stone. The single was cut to 6 minutes and 58 seconds because there was not enough vinyl on a 45 to handle the original 11-minute, 46-second album version. If you listen to that song, like 80% of it's just instrumental, kind of like Shaft. You know, it's just that funky music. Great song, don't get me wrong, but they cut it down to fit on a 45. 1976, George Harrison, ill with hepatitis, is sued by his American label A&M for failing to deliver his latest album, 33 1/3, on time. Dog eat dog world, that record business back then. Birthdays, 1954. Doc and guitarist George Lynch is born in Spokane, Washington, but was later raised in California. 1938. Ben E. King, who does time with the Drifters before going solo with Stand By Me. A little ditty did okay for him there. Born in Henderson, North Carolina. 1929, or September 29th, I'm sorry, September 29th, 2003. Think back, if you will. The video for Stacy's Mom by Fountains of Wayne is released. The music video stars model and actress Rachel Hunter, who plays Stacy's mom, the obsession of her teenage daughter's friend. Yes, throw that up. 1977, in the middle of a tour, James Brown's backup band, the JBs, walk off stage before the gig in Florida, complaining of being underpaid. Most of the band returns later for the tour. 1976. This part wasn't too shocking to me when I heard this. At his 41st birthday party, a drunk Jerry Lee Lewis attempts to shoot a soda bottle with a .357 Magnum and instead hits his bass player, Norman Owens, twice in the chest. Owens makes a full recovery. Birthdays, 1935, Jerry Lee Lewis, born in Florida. 1963, Primus singer and bassist Les Claypool was born in Richmond, California. September 30th, 1955. James Dean is killed in a car accident at the age of 24. Dean dies around the same time rock and roll comes alive, The number one song of the day he dies is Pat Boone's cover of Ain't That a Shame. Clearly, America was at its crossroads. James Dean was, everybody said, you look up cool in the dictionary, James Dean. This next bit, I was a fan of the show. I've seen this episode. If you can go back and look at it, it's hilarious. 1998 on the Drew Carey Show, episode in Ramada Davida / Lisa Loeb, Dusty Hill as ZZ Top, Dave Mustaine, Johnny Lang, Joey Ramone, and Joe Walsh, and Cheap Trick guitarist Rick Nielsen auditioned for Drew's new band with the gig at the Ramada Inn. Joe Walsh got the job. Funny parts of that one, Dave Mustaine from Megadeth was playing, and Drew tells him, don't be nervous, just slow down. Johnny Lang's playing, and he goes, thanks, kid. I'll get back to cutting my grass. And Johnny Lang starts cutting his grass. So, 1971, Isaac Hayes releases the theme from Shaft. Birthdays on this day, 1953. Country singer Deborah Allen is born. Deborah Lynn Truman, in Memphis, Tennessee. Known for her 1983 crossover hit, Baby I Lied. 1935, Johnny Mathis is born. John Royce Mathis in Gilmore, Texas. October 1st, 2000. Very interesting note. I know we've kind of talked about this in the past. Australian rock band Midnight Oil playing their hit Beds Are Burning at the closing of the ceremony in the Summer Olympics in Sydney. Their black outfits are embezzled with the word sorry, a symbolic olive branch towards the Aborigines who were forced out of their land by the government that refused to apologize. Midnight Oil, Beds Are Burning, very political song at the time for them. We've talked about that. So it's kind of funny how they let them play and let them have the shirt that it was Australia. You're supposed to have the local band play. 2011, after 28 years and 2 children together, and claiming to be happily unmarried, Gene Simmons at 62 finally marries Shannon Tweed, 54. They got married, and the song At Last is sung by their daughter, Sophie. Birthdays, 1948, Brownsville Station frontman Michael Cub Koda is born in Detroit, Michigan. He wrote the group's 1973 hit, Smokin' in the Boys' Room, which was later covered by Motley Crue. 1935, Julie Andrews is born. Julia Elizabeth Wells in Walton-on-Thames, Surrey, England. October 2nd, 1954. Elvis Presley, this hurts to say these 3 words in a row. Elvis Presley bombs at the Grand Ole Opry, which does not approve of his take on traditional country music. The Opry's talent director, Jim Denny, famously tells Elvis he should go back to driving truck. Elvis swears never to return. Yeah. Oops. Birthdays 1960. Pop singer and songwriter Robbie Neville was born in Los Angeles, California, known for his 1986 cover hit, C'est la vie. 1951, Gordon Matthew Thomas Summer, or Sting from the Police, was born.
Oh, yes.
In England. Here's his nickname when his fellow musicians says he looks like a bee in his yellow and black striped sweater. He was working as a school teacher when the band The Police hit it big time. 1950, Mike Rutherford of Genesis is born in England. October 3rd, 1981, Rod Stewart brings out special guest Tina Turner to join him on stage for a song of what else but Hot Legs during an appearance on Saturday Night Live. 1978, at an Aerosmith show in Fort Wayne, Indiana, cops arrest fans for smoking marijuana, prompting Steven Tyler to chastise them, Jim Morrison style, from the stage. Tyler announces that the band will bail out anyone who's arrested that night and the next day when they did just that. Understandably, memories of the event are a little hazy. The number of the arrests has been reported anywhere between 28 and 58 people. 1962, Tommy Lee is born. Thomas Lee Bass in Athens, Georgia. It's pronounced Bass or Bass, his real name. I've never really heard. So I read it. Never heard it pronounced. 1954, one of the greatest guitarists ever, Stevie Ray Vaughan, was born in Dallas, Texas. 1949, Lindsey Buckingham of Fleetwood Mac is born in Palo Alto, California. 1941, Chubby Checker. Oh, what a great band we got here. Tommy Lee, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Lindsey Buckingham, Chubby Checker. He was born Ernest Evans in Spring Valley, South Carolina. And then 1938, rockabilly singer Eddie Cochran is born in Albert Lea, Minnesota. October 4th, rounding it off, 1986. Popular newsman Dan Rather is attacked by a man who hits him from behind and repeats the phrase, "Kenneth, what is your frequency?" Prompting EMN to write a song, "What's Your Frequency, Kenneth?" Speaking of Lindsey Buckingham, 1980, Fleetwood Mac. Members Mick Fleetwood, Lindsey Buckingham, and Stevie Nicks joined the USC Trojan Marching Band, which is performing their hit Tusk during halftime of an NFL or of a football game between USC and Arizona State. Nicks twirls the baton, Fleetwood plays the bass drum, Buckingham mock conducts the band playing the song. The USC band is then presented with the platinum record from their contribution. If you've ever seen the video for Tusk, you see him on there, so it's pretty neat they did that. We'll wrap it up with birthdays here. 1959, Chris Lowe of the Pet Shop Boys.
It is a good video to see it.
Chris Lowe, the Pet Shop Boys, which you'll never hear an album review on this show from, was born in
Correct.
Stating the obvious there. And Barbara K. McDonald of Timbuk 3, whose song "The Future's So Bright We Got Over Our Shades," one hit wonders, was born in Wausau, Wisconsin. And that, my friend, is my long-winded edition of This Week in Sports History and Birthdays, and Music History and Birthdays. Your album of the week would be what, sir?
Well, the album of the week I've got is a punk. Probably my only punk album I'll ever do. But it is the Sex Pistols today. Never mind the Bullocks. Here's the Sex Pistols.
Yes.
So the reason I'm going to do this, because the historical significance of the music industry, the influence, and all of the what I'll call the side stories of this. Whether you're a fan or not, you will like this. Never mind the Bullocks. Here's the Sex Pistols is the only, I repeat, the only studio album by English punk rock band, the Sex Pistols, released on October 28th, 1977 by Virgin Records. And yes, Virgin Records was around, and running the company was Richard Branson. Now, this is in 77. So I did not know that. The album has influenced many bands and musicians and the industry in general. In particular, the album's raw energy and Johnny Rotten's sneering delivery and half singing are often considered game-changing. It is frequently listed as the most influential punk album and one of the most important albums of all time. By the time of its release, the Sex Pistols were controversial, having sworn on live TV, been fired from 2 record labels, and been banned from playing live in some parts of Britain. The album title added to the controversy, with some people finding the word Bullocks offensive. Many record stores refused to carry it, and some record charts refused to list its title, showing just a blank space after Sex Pistols instead. Due in part to its notoriety and in spite of many sales bans at major retailers, the album debuted at number 1 on the UK album charts. It achieved advanced orders of 125,000 copies after weeks of its release and went gold a few weeks later. It remained a bestseller for over a year, spending 60 weeks in the top 25. The album was also certified platinum. In 1987, Rolling Stone magazine named the album the second best record of the previous 20 years. Now, this is 1987. Rolling Stone goes back to 1967 through 87 and puts together their top albums. You know how many Led Zeppelin and other great acts were out there of albums to buy?
Oh, yeah.
The Eagles, the Steve Miller, Aerosmith, Kiss, all these albums were in that period. The top album was the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Number 2 was the Sex Pistols in that 20-year range.
Jeez.
That I found astounding. Same magazine named it number 41 on their list of 500 greatest albums of all time. So that's part of the reason there I wanted to cover this because of the history here. The singles released, number 1, November 26th, right around Thanksgiving time in 1976, the song Anarchy in the UK was released. The following May, Memorial Day weekend, 1977, was God Save the Queen. July 1st, right around the July 4th holiday, was Pretty Vacant, was released, the song Pretty Vacant. And then October 14th, coming up here on the anniversary, is Holidays in the Sun. Now, here's a story I think you'll like, Andy. Close to completing a deal with A&M Records in March of 1977, the Sex Pistols entered the Wessex Sound Studios to record with producer Chris Thomas and engineer Bill Price. The new bassist, Sid Vicious, of course, we all know Sid. Remember the movie Sid and Nancy?
Yep.
Talked about his heroin overdose, killing his girlfriend Nancy Spungen. Wild story. The new bassist, Sid Vicious, played on the track called Bodies. But his performing skills were not considered fit to record the full album. So the band asked the manager, Malcolm McLaurin, to convince the previous bassist, Glenn Matlock, who had since left the band, to say, go get him and bring him back so he can play the instrument for the recording sessions. Matlock says, I'll do it on the condition that you pay me beforehand. Well, payments never came in, so he declined to attend. As a result, they asked guitarist Steve Jones to play bass so work could begin on the basic recording tracks. Jones's playing was so satisfactory that Thomas says, why don't you play bass on the rest of the tracks and the remaining songs recorded during the session? So a guitarist, Steve Jones, played bass on the recording session. Sid Vicious played on one song. So let's cut to another story here on this album. During this time, bassist Sid Vicious stumbled into the same recording room as the rock band Queen at the time. He had a weak insult aimed at the lead singer Freddie Mercury by saying and asking him, have you brought ballet to the masses yet? That's what he asked Freddie Mercury. Completely unbothered by this, Freddie got up and says, aren't you Simon Ferocious or some kind of name like that? Name was Sid Vicious. He was giving him grief. And he says, what are you going to do? He says, what are you going to do about it? Freddie took him by the collar and threw him out of the room. Later, Queen's producer had a word with the Sex Pistols engineer over an interruption by the awestruck Johnny Rotten, the lead singer, saying, dude, one of the band members just crawled on all fours across our studio up to the side of the piano and said, hello, Freddie, and left on all fours. Could you make sure, please, that he doesn't do that again? So this was the kind of stuff that was going on. Crawling around on all fours, they were recording at the same time Queen was. And they have, Sid Vicious and all these guys were drunk and high the entire time. It was unbelievable. Now, I'm going to get to the track listings here, and then I'll come back to a story. Here's the track listings. Holidays in the Sun. Number 2 was Liar. Number 3, No Feelings. Number 4, God Save the Queen. Song 5 is Problems. Song 6, 17. Song 7, Anarchy in the UK. Song 8 was Bodies. The only song Sid Vicious actually played bass on. Song 9 was Pretty Vacant. Song 10, New York. And song 11, EMI. So here's a story I'll bring up. The French pressing of the album Nevermind the Bollocks was done with adding another song called Submission as song 12. The album was supposed to be released with only 11 songs on the track. Virgin was going to release it as well, but there was a separate deal done in place in France. The first version was released in the UK, but 10,000 copies of the Virgin pressing in France erroneously listed only 11 songs on the title track, on the cover. But actually on the LP, it actually had all 12 songs on the LP. On the vinyl was 12 songs. The album sleeve listed only 11. So those are some very rare albums out there. If anyone has a hold of that, there's 10,000 that was actually printed and released. 12-song album, only listing 11. Now, the album originally was going to be called God Save Sex Pistols, and Jamie Reed's cover concept refrained from it, including a picture of the group, but instead was day-glow red and yellow in color with a cutout lettering, and the finish resembled some crude screen prints, as you see on the screen there now. The album's title changed in mid-1977 based on a phrase supplied by Steve Jones, the same guitarist who played bass. Jones says he picked up the phrase, "Never mind the Bullocks," from two fans who would always say it to one another. Johnny Rotten explained the meaning as a working class expression to stop talking rubbish or stop talking bullshit. And so when they called it Bullocks, they got into trouble with the printing and the marketing of it, because that was considered almost a swear word back then, and retailers did not want to carry this album. But once again, all it did was provide the ammunition needed to have it rise up onto the charts. Never mind the Bullocks changed everything back then. There has never been anything like it before, and really never really anything quite like it since. The closest was probably Nirvana, a band very heavily influenced by the Sex Pistols. Kurt Cobain himself from Nirvana listed the album on his top 50 favorite albums. The title of Nirvana's second album, Nevermind, was inspired by the Sex Pistols album, which at the time angered Johnny Rotten. He did not want to be compared to Nirvana. In 2000, it was voted number 29 in Colin Larkin's all-time top 1,000 albums. In 2005, the album was ranked number 276 in Rock Hard magazine book of the top greatest 500 rock and metal albums of all time. In 2006, it was chosen by Time magazine as one of the top 100 greatest albums ever. In the same year, NME voted the album the fourth greatest British album of all time. So here's the personnel that played. Johnny Rotten, lead vocals, still alive today. In fact, was in the news earlier this week in the UK wearing his "Make America Great Again" T-shirt, pissing off a lot of people, but showing his support for Trump.
Yes.
Johnny Rotten. Stephen Jones played guitar and bass and also backing vocals. Paul Cook did all the work on drums. Glenn Matlock actually played bass guitar on one song, Anarchy in the UK. And Sid Vicious, of course, played bass on the song Bodies. Good one to get if you get a chance. If you listen to it, it is.
Motley Crue's done a cover of Anarchy in the UK, and a lot of other bands have also.
That's it. It's good stuff. It's so historical is part of the reason, and it's influence with a lot of bands, including Kurt Cobain, Nirvana, and things like that. But boy, that really caused, and there were several lawsuits that lasted for years with the naming of this and who was selling it in the stores and how you could sell it. And there was several different bootleg versions of this album that was released that someone leaked out, and so they had multiple versions at the time. But this was a big fiasco, and behind it all, Richard Branson from Virgin was trying to chase this whole fiasco down, and this was 1977. I didn't know that this related back to Virgin, going way back. But that's my album review of the week, Andy.
Wonderful. Couple things. You'll see on Instagram posted earlier today. did a thing for Bob Gibson, who passed away yesterday. You'll see that video on Instagram earlier today, and we'll get that put on the end of this for the YouTube part. Also, Mac Davis passed away this week. Mac Davis did a couple songs in the Ghetto, and there's another song he wrote 2 songs for Elvis Presley. Mac Davis, as a kid growing up, my mom and dad liked Mac Davis, so kind of inspirational thing there for me. Mac Davis passing away, he's sad to see him go. And that's, we try not to bring up the deaths of musicians a lot on here. We always kind of birthdays, anniversaries, happy points. But Mac Davis was pretty inspirational to see him go around there. And also getting back to the concerts we mentioned, Medina, check their website. A lot of other, like we said last week, virtual concerts still going on. Bands putting stuff online, so keep an eye out for that.
Awesome. That's all we got here. Episode number 42, Sports and Songs.
Betty
Please make sure to follow us. There's Shadow.
Oh, this is Betty Lou.
Oh, there's Betty Lou. Sorry.
Shadow's on vacation this week. He didn't want anything to do.
Be sure to follow us on the Twitter account and Instagram and
Yes.
YouTube channels. Look forward to hearing your comments and requests for coming up on an episode of future shows.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. See you next time.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. Yes, I know.